Paper, cloth, or leather. Today we are talking about cover materials. Hello and welcome to my studio. My name is Ido Agassi, and today I want to answer some questions I get quite often about cover materials, how to use them, when to use them, and hopefully at the end of this video you'll get some more answers about the subject. So with an idea in mind, let's bind. I'm going to start by bringing paper. Paper is the most accessible cover material and probably the one most bookbinders start with. It's easy to find, affordable, and it comes in beautiful variety of colors and textures. Think of marbled paper with its flowing pattern that makes every book unique, or paste paper, which you can even make yourself at home. No two sheets are ever the same. But not every paper works as a cover material. The first thing you need to think about is weight. For covering a book board, the chipboard that becomes your cover, you want something in the range of 80 to 120 grams, light enough to wrap around the board cleanly, heavy enough not to tear when you're working with it, but you've seen me working with thinner paper too. If you want paper to be your cover by itself, no board underneath, you are looking at something thicker, around 200 to 350 grams or even more, depending on the size of the book and on your project. The second thing, and this is important, is the grain direction. You want your paper to be in the right grain direction, parallel to the spine. If you get the grain wrong, the cover will warp. The paper and the board will fight each other as humidity changes, and your book will end up looking like a banana. So always check the grain direction before you cut. And if you're not sure about paper grain direction, watch this video next. Now here is where paper shows its limitations, at the hinge. The hinge is that thin strip where the cover meets the spine, where the book opens and closes. Every time you open the book, that area flexes. Paper does not love flexing. Over time, it will crack, it will tear, and you'll end up with a book that is falling apart exactly where you don't want it to. If you look at most commercial paperback books today, the cover is paper, but it has a layer of lamination on top. That thin coating is what reinforces the hinge and keeps the cover from cracking with use. This is the industry answer to exactly the problem we just talked about. As bookbinders, we don't usually use laminated paper, but understanding why it exists helps us make decisions about which paper to work for each project. By the way, this is why we have a quarter binding or half binding, by covering only the spine and the corners in leather or cloth and use paper for the rest of the cover. You get the beauty of the paper where it is visible and the strength and tough material exactly where the book needs it. It's not a compromise, it's actually a classic and elegant solution. Now I want to mention one paper that deserves its own moment, Efalin. Efalin is a thick coated paper made to look and feel like bookbinding cloth. It has texture, it comes in many colors, it is more durable at the hinge than regular paper. Where Efalin really shines is on boxes, clamshell boxes, or books with light and moderate use. So when do you use paper? When you want color and pattern. The variety of decorative papers is something that cloth and leather can never match. Paper is not the lesser choice, it just has its place. So paper is where many of you start, but once you want more durability, once you want to upgrade your book, you start looking at cloth. When people hear bookbinding cloth, they sometimes think, can I just use fabric from a fabric store or just leftover cotton, linen, something with texture? The answer is technically yes, but there's a reason we use cloth made specially for bookbinding, and it comes down to one thing, the backing. Bookbinding cloth has paper backing connected to it. That backing is what makes it work. When you apply glue to the cloth and press it onto the board, the glue needs somewhere to stop. Without the backing, it bleeds straight through to the surface. So if you ever want to use decorative fabric you love, a beautiful printed cotton for instance, you can back it yourself with Japanese tissue or thin paper before using it. It takes extra steps, but it works. And I'm actually planning to make a video about how to back cloth, and when I do, I will link it here. So cloth comes from many manufacturers, and depending on the brand, you'll find difference in weaving, texture, weight, and color range. Some are slightly sheen, some are very fine, and some with thick texture. Many bookbinding suppliers carry their own selection, and a good supplier will let you buy by the meter, or even by sheets, which is exactly what you want as an individual bookbinder. One cloth you will hear about often is buckram. Buckram is a heavy, stiff cloth with a very distinct texture. It is extremely durable. Libraries use it for exactly that reason. Books that are going to be handled constantly, opened and closed thousands of times, with buckram it holds up. It's not the most elegant material, but it is one that is most durable. It does exactly what it promises. For more refined work, journals, fine binding, presentation books, you would choose a lighter, smoother cloth. The surface takes foil stamping and embossing beautifully, which gives you options for titling and decoration. As I mentioned before, cloth is also significantly stronger at the hinge than paper. That flex point that paper struggles with, cloth handles it naturally. Cloth will take you very far, but there is one material that bookbinders have been reaching for longer than any other, and that is leather. Leather has been used to cover books for centuries. This, for instance, is a book from my father's collection from the 17th century, printed in Amsterdam. Look what beautiful decorations, blind tooling. Look at the spine. And this is wood, and there is a reason it never went away. It is beautiful, it ages with character, and when it is done well, the leather-bound book feels like something that was meant to last. But not all leather is the same, and this is where a lot of confusion happens. There are two main types you will encounter in bookbinding. The first is vegetable tanned leather. Vegetable tanned leather is the traditional choice for fine binding. It gets its name from the tanning process. The hides are treated using natural plant-based materials, tannins from bark and other organic sources. It is a slow process, and you can feel the result in your hands. The leather is firm, it has depth, and it responds to water. And that last part is important. When you work with leather in bookbinding, you dampen it. The moisture relaxes the leather and makes it playable enough to pull around corners to cover your binding perfectly. And because the leather can absorb water, paste, the traditional adhesive for leather, soaks in and creates a strong bond. And then, after it dries, it tightens and conforms to exactly the shape you gave it. The second type is upholstery leather, the kind you know from car seats and furniture. This is commercially manufactured leather produced with a chemical process that makes it more uniform, more water resistant, and significantly more accessible in price. In bookbinding, this type of leather is commonly used for covering boxes, portfolios, and books where durability and a clean finish matters more than tradition. It comes in a wide range of colors and is straightforward to work with. But it behaves differently. You don't dampen it. The water resistance that makes it practical also means moisture does not help you here. And because it is water resistant, paste alone may not give you the grip you need. PVA or a combination of both will give you a more reliable bond. I know about people that also use for this kind of leather cement glue, but I don't recommend you to use that. Now, regardless of which leather you are using, there is one technique that applies to both, and that is paring. Leather has its thickness, and when you wrap it around a board and turn the edges in, the thickness builds up, especially at the corners. Paring means thinning the leather at the edges before you cover, so that the turn-ins lay flat and the corners look clean and perfect. You could do this with a paring knife, which gives you a full control and is the traditional method. A spoke shave is another option, faster for long straight edges. And for thicker leather, a paring machine does the work very efficiently. But these are special tools that you need to learn how to use and how to handle. I will go much deeper into paring in a dedicated video. It deserves its own time. But know that this is a part of working with leather, not something you can skip. One thing I do often is repurpose leather. An old book cover, a jacket, a couch, a bag. If the leather is good quality, it can have a second life on a new binding. It is one of the things I love about this material. Nothing has to go to waste. And the offcuts, the small pieces left after covering, after cutting, those become onlays and inlays. Small decorative elements pressed into or layered onto the cover. Remember, some of the most refined details in fine bindings come from scraps. Leather is not just a cover material, it is a statement about your skill and your ability. So now you know more about cover materials, but if you want to know how to implement that in your project, watch this video next. Thank you for watching and for being here. Consider subscribing if you're interested in things related to bookbinding, box making, and much more. And I'll see you in my next video.